Hello again everyone, Mary Rose here at Stitch Bliss Corner, and I've been asked to show my couching method, and so that's what I'm going to do this evening. And without further ado, we can get started. Now this is not a tutorial by any means, because number one, I'm not very good at them, and number two, the overhead camera thing, it doesn't do a lot for me, so I'm going to try my best to show you. So we'll just see how we go. Now first of all, I'm just going to show you where I've couched. I've couched around her sleeve here. This is an Oriental lady that I did some time ago. Then her gown here, the bottom part of her gown, all down there, that's all couching. And all around the bottom here and around there is all couching. Okay, so I just thought I'd just show you what couching looks like. See, around this sleeve here, that's all couching as well. That's her. And then I had a thing about Oriental ladies for a while. My people who've watched me before have seen these. And here's another one. See, all these hanging branches down here, that's all couching. And the main benefit of couching is that it's a lot quicker than backstitching. Now here in her hair here, I've got, I don't know that I can show it to you, but that's very glossy, and what I did was over the top of the black cross stitches I used this sulky. Now sulky is usually used for gridding, and I'm going to show my gridding in another video quite soon, but I used the sulky to put a gloss and sheen on her hair. Sorry, I bumped the iPad there. I'll just put that away. So I'll just show you her, and you can see what absolute fun it was to do this beautiful gown. There's all French knots there, and then here's the couching again all around there. This beautiful bird and the flowers. I mean, I could look at this for hours really, but anyway, that's not what you're here for, so I'll put that away. What else have I got? Well, this is just to show you couching actually on a face, and so all of this around here is couching. I'll just show you a quick look at that around her fingers, and then the length of her gown there. Right, so now I'm going to get my needle and thread ready, and with a bit of luck you'll be able to see what I do. Now just look away a moment, because I'm going to have to move this and it's going to judder. Right, I'll get that straight. Where am I here? This is so weird. It's going to be like trying to stitch with the needle on the end of forceps. Now I know what a surgeon feels like. Anyway, so I thought I'd just get this simple little flower that I have here just to give you an idea of the couching. Now this is just what I've done is use some a gridding pen to draw this little flower. So normally that would be stitched, of course, if you're couching around something, but I thought this would just make it easy. Now there's a little black dot there because I was just going to connect this up before I started, and then I thought, well, really you might want to actually see what I'm doing. So here I'm just running this into the back of the Ada fabric, but normally that would be stitching, so it'd run into the back of the stitching. So you just get a loop start at the back there. That's how you start. Then turn it over. Well, actually you need to bring it through, but you need to know where to bring it through, so we'll just bring it through just there. So now we have 2 strands of, well, this is 310, but normally if you were stitching this flower you'd have a colour more conducive to the edge of a petal. You wouldn't have black, of course, but this is just to try and show it up a bit. Right, now then. Just hang on a moment. Sorry. Right, so anyway, so we have the 2 threads on the top. Now one of these threads has to go back underneath because the top one is going to be the couching thread and the bottom one is going to be the looping thread, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. So I've just taken that through to the back. Now this top thread, you can move it around pretty well any way you like. You can roll it round with your finger. It's very, especially if you've got it in your hand properly, you know, when you're properly sewing and you're holding your Ada in your hand, it's a lot easier to move it round. But anyway, that just shows you how easy it is to move that around for your petal. Now on the other side here, with ordinary couching, usually your top thread is anchored by another thread, but it's usually across a stitch length. But with my couching, you don't do it along a stitch length. You just go through the hole and then up and down through the same hole. So I'll show you what I mean. Now here's the first. I'll just bring my needle up through. Now this is a very big needle I'm using. You'd normally use a smaller one because that gives you a finer finish. Just pull that through. I've managed to use such a huge needle that the threads come out of the needle. So that's a great start, isn't it? Never mind. Right. Right, so we'll just bring it up through. I'll go there. So I'm looking through the iPad here, so it's a bit difficult. And then you can roll that top thread over, and then you loop it through and anchor it down like that. Then I'll just go to the next little bit here. So you could probably put another little one just in there, but I won't worry now. But it's just the finish that you want. And you can get a nice little curve. So when you're going around curves, naturally enough you need to use more stitches going around a curve. So I'll just see if I can get this through here. I probably should have used a sharp needle, but anyway, not to worry. Just pop a little one in there. And of course you can just go under without, you can just go under your fabric and come up. The more adept you get at it, the better it goes. Just do that to there. And if you feel that it's not quite giving you the look you want, you can just pull on this a little bit and kind of just move it around with your thumb. And if you're not happy, you just undo it, which is very easy because those loops come out. You can just pull this top thread right out and those loops just drop out because there's nothing to hold them there. So it's very easy to frog it if you're not happy with your result. And I'm mainly doing this because I know there are people that put off finishing their stitching because they have to do backstitch and they dislike doing it so much they just put off finishing their work, which is a real shame because couching makes it really enjoyable doing it, and it gives you a really good result as well. So this is a bit rough because, as I say, it's much better when you can have it in your lap and you've got the right size needle and everything, and it's stitching too, because when you go around stitching it does look a bit better than this. Sorry, I'm going out of frame. I sort of get concentrating on what I'm looking at and forgetting to make sure it's able to be seen. But hopefully by now you have a very good idea of what's going on. And you see, you can just, as I say, that top thread you can just move it round so easily, and your outline becomes very nice indeed. So that's that. So I'll just leave that, I think, and I shall show you another thing I have here. Now, it's one of my pet peeves when I see cross stitching with this kind of effect here, where the edge of the cross has got the little back stitches going round, and I've never ever seen a flower that looked like that on the, you know, if you want a stylized look, or it's part of the look of the whole piece, I can sort of understand that, but I just don't like the look of that. I much prefer that sort of look where you've couched around and you've softened the edges so that it looks more realistic. I mean, that looks much more like a flower to me than that does. Now, I'll just show you this. This is another one where, you know, a leaf that's got that stylized kind of look about it. And I'll just show you. That was just my cushion, my arm cushion. Alright, so here, I'm just going to do a curve around here, going past these, because to me, those look like the teeth of a saw. So I'm going to just do this, just to give you a bit of an idea of what I mean. Wait till I just get this started. And once again, I'm putting the loop in the back there, bringing the top one through, or both of them through, because they can get tangled, and you can separate them on the top, so you know what you're doing. I've got the top there. I'm just taking one of the threads out of the needle, and that's the top couching thread there, and the other one I'm taking through to the back to do the loops. Okay, so here we go. So just to get that more natural look, just bring it along here. Just go round. Here. Now your looping thread, you can use a thinner thread because DMC is quite a thick thread really, and I have been known to use cotton like this, which is much thinner for the looping part, because then the loop is barely perceptible and your line just looks like a line of cotton, almost as though it's not anchored at all, especially if you're using fine fabric. See how you can roll that across with your thumb and roll it. So I roll it across, bring my stitch up from underneath, and I can roll it back again, put my needle back in the same hole, and then go down to the next one. And of course you get a rhythm up and you can just go so quickly. Right, so now you can do a comparison there between that one and that one. I just think that looks much more realistic and so easy. I mean, this takes an inordinate amount of time. That I've just done while we've been sitting here. So I'll just do you one more. This is just to show how quick it is to outline letters. Now that one there I've done with the traditional backstitch, so it's just so that you can see how much quicker you can do it with the couching, and it looks just like the backstitch as far as I can see anyway. So I'm just going to, here I'm going to take this straight down to the bottom of the E, just there, all the way down, and I'll just then bring it out and just have it sitting there. Oh, don't worry about that loop, that's just picked up the top one, or the bottom one I should say. Right, so now I'm just going to get the looping one. It's just there from the bottom. Sorry, I bumped the camera. And here it is. Now I'll just loop that, and come down however many I feel like. I'll not to split that. Let's pull on that top one again. I'll just see if I can get it through there. Of course, this needle's the size of a crocheting hook, just about, so that's probably why I'm having a bit of trouble here. So you can just pull on there and it'll straighten it. I'm putting less stitches in that probably you'd need. Probably need one every 4 squares or something like that. But this is just to give you an idea of the simplicity of couching. Actually, I'll probably put that top one down in the corner here. I've just I've put that top one row over, so I'm just moving it. Because I'll just get to this bottom corner, just so I can show you how it'll go around that corner pretty well also. Sorry about all that banging the camera there. I've just got to get my top thread out. Right. Oh, that's why. I was wondering what that little mark there was, and it was just looped a little bit. Oh, that's gone over a bit. That's what happens when you don't go directly into the hole you came out of. And sometimes, if I'm doing a face or something like that, I use sewing cotton for my couching instead of DMC, because it's just finer for a face. Because sometimes you see these beautiful, delicate faces, and then they're outlined with this thick, well, it looks thick anyway, DMC thread, and it just looks nicer with a finer cotton. So always be open to that idea. So there we are. Now, this is a bit rough, this one, I have to say, but it's much quicker than the backstitch. Okay, now I think that is all I have to say about couching. I will have a look at this to see if it's okay, and if it is, I'll put it up. And then I am also going to do a separate one on gridding, which will be not too far away. Okay, so bye for now.